Natural.
Yeah, well, obviously we wanted to see the dialogue and diplomacy given a chance and not to use force. So clearly we call for the continuation of dialogue and, for the prioritization of diplomacy, yeah.
Well, Nigeria's ties with Russia, as well as the West. I mean, talking the U.S., we have had some military engagements with them and otherwise. How do you think this whole development issue, how are we navigating through this whole situation in view of the Iranian crisis in Ukraine?
Well, our first priority is to the Nigerian citizens that find themselves in Ukraine at the moment. We've been engaging over the last 3 weeks with our embassy in the Ukraine, and I've been personally in touch with the ambassador on almost daily basis since then. And of course, the big challenge was whether to issue a travel advisory for all the Nigerian students and others living in Ukraine to leave. Now, an advisory was given that those who felt the need to leave should do so. The consensus amongst the diplomatic representation of the various countries in Ukraine was that the citizens should stay. Of course, Russia was asserting that they were not going to invade, while of course the US, as we know, and some other Western countries were saying that an invasion was imminent. So it was difficult to know who to really believe. The Ukrainian government was assuring the citizens there that they should just go about their normal business. And some Nigerian students who were interviewed, said that, to all intents and purposes, they were totally oblivious and unaware of any crisis, and it was just when they turned on the news or whatever that they heard that there might be there's some issues. So so the advice from our mission was not to panic, but importantly a hotline was set up by the embassy and reaching out to all the Nigerians and letting them know the number which they can call if they were in any kind of trouble. Now, of course, the attack, military action, is underway. I've been in touch with the ambassador today. He's reassured me of the safety of the Nigerians in the Ukraine, and very importantly that so far all the attacks have been against military installations in the Ukraine. So that's the situation as of now. But of course the airports are closed, and so I've told him that there are 5 airports. Inform the Nigerians who are still in the Ukraine that once the airports are reopened, that arrange in an organized fashion for those who feel that they want to leave to go to the nearest airports to them, and we will see then how we can assist for them to leave the country.
Okay, okay, let me just continue on this trajectory. I'll still come back to the issue, but yes, this whole situation is happening in Ukraine, but we have other countries, the Moldovas, the Poland, and we have Nigerians living in those countries, about six of them, I think, border, or 7 of them border Ukraine. What are we doing? Any plans for those Nigerians living in those countries, neighboring countries, this time around?
Plans in what sense? To leave those countries?
Well, if there are arrangements for maybe their safety and all that.
Their safeties in countries like Poland. Well, I think there's no immediate threat that we're aware of, against those countries. So I don't think that those were the countries within the sphere of possible military action or fallout from the Ukraine. Our understanding and reading of the situation is that any military or escalation of military action would be confined to Ukraine.
But you're not getting any reports of anything, any trepidation kind of in those areas?
In those areas, no. Yeah.
Okay. But do you have a sense of how many Nigerians are in Ukraine at the moment? In terms of numbers?
In terms of numbers, well, they're in the tens of thousands. Not exactly, but I understand they're mainly students in the Ukraine. And, the last I heard them, maybe up to about 5,000 or so.
Okay. This whole situation is having an impact on, let me just put it this way. How do you think this will affect Nigeria's relationship with Russia, U.S., militarily, because we have military relationship with them?
Yes, it's. We have good relations with Russia. We have good relations with Ukraine as well, which is why we are urging for diplomacy. And of course, we have good relations with the U.S. We're members of the United Nations and would, this matter will almost certainly come up within the United Nations. And our position would always be to avoid violence and military conflict and to prioritize under all circumstances, peaceful resolution of disputes and prioritizing dialogue and diplomacy. And we're saddened because leading up to this, a number of presidents have been going to Russia and going to Ukraine. President Macron of France. There have been direct phone conversations between Vladimir Putin, President of Russia, and President Joe Biden of the United States. The UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has also been in touch with those leaders. So, there were ongoing diplomatic initiatives, and we were hopeful that would continue. But of course, we also know that the U.S. said that an invasion was imminent. The U.K. said an invasion was imminent. The Russians said no, that they were not going to invade anybody. So so we had hoped that diplomacy was going to be given a chance.
Okay, I'm just going to take you on two last questions. The first one is, yes, we're hoping that there won't be an invasion. Russia have given that promise, but then what we're seeing now is the Ukrainian president has declared a martial law in Ukraine, especially Kiev. And yes, I know the target has been we've had targets is military establishments and facilities. However, we can't rule out attacks on civilians. We can't rule out that in such situations. And so we've had reports of Nigerian students. Yes, we have more students there stranded. Some of them actually got tickets to actually leave, but the airports are shut, and so they actually plan to leave, indicating that they actually plan to leave. Any arrangement to actually move them out of that place? Well,
some are going by land. Crossing into Poland and some of these countries. Our advice from the embassy is to stay calm, stay in their residence, and once there is an opportunity, the airport opening up, we'll have a coordinated approach to getting them out. So all the resources available to the embassy will be directed towards an orderly a process of evacuating those who want to leave.
The impact of the situation is already being felt, given the price of crude oil in the markets, over $100 per barrel already. Will Nigeria be working with other parties just to see how this mitigate this economically?
Well, what will happen is that the price of oil will go up, and gas. So I mean, in a perverse sort of way, it economically, for those oil-producing countries and gas-producing countries, economically it's an opportunity, but we would much prefer, that there were peace and lower prices, rather than that there's war and conflict and the resultant casualties and deaths, and that there will be higher oil prices. So yes, I mean, there will clearly, definitely, there will be economic, repercussions. But we have to, at this time, prioritize peace and human lives.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister, for granting us this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay.